Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and for another update video. So today we're talking about forestry and how I basically nearly ruined my map by planting a forest. So I'll explain what I mean by that as we go through. So basically you'll notice here we've got our forest planted, and in a previous episode this forest was also planted over this hill area. So we'll drive over here a little bit and we'll have a look. So all this hill was spruce trees. So I'll jump into the build mode. So this entire green area was all trees. And if we go up the back here as well, and from about where these saplings are to where this cloud state area is, this was also trees. So I've deleted pretty much 3/4 of the forest, and I've still got some forest left here up the back because I want to illustrate the issue I was having, and you can start to see it now. It's where the frame rate of the game starts to drop, so much so that it almost becomes unplayable. So basically what happened was I planted the forest not realizing, actually I'll show you exactly what the problem was. So right here you can see how close these spruce trees are together, like basically right on top of each other. And obviously they're a little bit separated this way, but I think I've removed a row of trees. So imagine there was another row of trees right here with the same sort of density. So if we go up here a little bit further, then maybe in the original, yeah, here we go. So check this out. So you can see how dense this area is with forestry, and I can see the game is already starting to jump and jitter a little bit with the frame rate. Now imagine having that plus all this area with trees. So basically what happened is the game was unplayable. So I uploaded a video of me clearing this forest to illustrate the frame rate issue, and you can see how bad it was. So basically what I had to do is I had to buy a forestry mulcher, which was, so I used the Lizard T-Rex, this one here, T-Rex 600, and I basically cleared that entire forest using this bit of machinery. Because the issue is with trees, once you plant them, they're basically, you're stuck with them until you deal with them. So really a huge mistake on my part. And it's probably the worst experience I've had in this game, trying to clear this forest of trees. I don't know how many trees there would have been there, but probably over 1,000, I reckon. Maybe not 1,000, but a few hundred. Like, got to remember too how densely packed they were. So if we look at this section here, how many trees we got? We count them quickly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So say 22 to a row, and there was just rows and rows and rows on top of each other. So I had to bite the bullet, had to clear it. I've left these ones here because I do want to do a bit of forestry later on, but I'm thinking I may switch to pine trees, not the spruce trees. So the other issue with the spruce trees, if you have a look at them, because they're so big and so dense with foliage, there's just so much to render in terms of graphics. So obviously the PS5 is pretty good, but even now you can start to see the frame rate start to drop when we're trying to render each one of these trees. Even now, looking at it, it's still causing me issues. So, and the other thing too is because when I built the fire station over there, and when I build the dealership for John Deere over here, anytime I jump into the build mode, I get that janky sort of frame rate sort of issue, and it just makes the game unplayable. So I really had no choice but to clear it. It took me about probably 6 hours in real life time to clear this entire forest. So what I ended up having to do was I started from, so if we go back into the build mode, started from this bottom corner. I positioned the T-Rex forest mulcher heading up the hill with the camera turned to the right, so it didn't have to render the trees in view, and I basically drove up the hill looking this way, deleting each tree one by one. So if you want to torment yourself, go and watch that 15-minute video of me doing that. I didn't film the whole thing, but just a section to illustrate the frame rate issue. So basically just a warning to other players who might be considering putting a forest in. Just be very, very careful with your tree spacing and the type of tree that you use. So I think these spruce trees, really, they need to be separated by quite a margin. So if I have one here, I probably don't want another one till about here, possibly even further. So I don't want those leaves and branches to overlap. You know what, realistically it's probably this distance here, so from there to there. Because the other issue too is when you cut this thing down, that animation to cut it down chews up quite a bit of CPU usage on the PS5, and it just becomes very, very difficult to manage these trees. So in comparison to, say, a pine, so if I just jump into the landscape tool, have a look at these trees. So I've got a large stone pine. Look at the difference in foliage compared to, and when I say foliage, I'm talking about the branches. You've got a couple of branches up top, and it's far less for the game to render, and probably far easier to handle in terms of logging as well, because you can use a tree harvester on this. Because these trunks on the spruces get so thick, you can't use any old forestry harvester. So you'll notice here it's got a width measurement sort of in the bottom right hand corner. It tells you the maximum diameter that the tree harvester can handle, and this one's 80 centimeters. The one that I had to use, or tried to use, was this one, the Hannibal, so the Impex Hannibal T50. I mean, this is an awesome bit of machinery from the Platinum expansion, but this was the only thing that I could use to attempt to cut down those trees other than the chainsaw. The Fella Buncher here only does 58 centimeters, and that is it for your options, really. So it's either chainsaw or the Hannibal T50 or the Lizard T-Rex 600. So the Lizard T-Rex 600 is my choice by far for deleting these trees, because it basically deletes them all in one go. You don't have to deal with anything falling down. It was far, far quicker than any other method that I'd tried to clear that forest. Considering the frame rate issue I was having, it was really my saviour in this forest. So, alright, so how do you avoid planting so close together? So if we go to the shop quickly, let's go to, if we can find it, forestry equipment. Basically in the base game you've got the Damcon PL75 tree planter, and it is quite small, so I'll just lease one of those and we'll go over to the shop. And when you're using the narrow tractor, what you'll find is it basically, when you hire the worker, it plants those trees the same width. So I'm just going to jump in this little tractor I've got here. So this is a Fendt 207V Vario, so this is for vineyards because it's so narrow, but it should still hook up just for illustration purposes. So you can see how narrow this is, right? So basically what happens is, when it plants, it basically plants them the same width as this machine, and that's how you get the density issue. So what I would do to get around that if you're going to hire a worker is you would lease a tractor with pretty wide tyres. So let's just have a look at any old thing here. We'll get the John Deere 6R. See if it comes with dualies. So it's got twin tyres. So if I just lease that quickly, get rid of this thing. So because what's going to happen is you're not going to run over the sapling you just planted in the previous row. So this is automatically going to give you wider spacing straight up. Now this is going to be if you're planting trees, not if you've got trees on your map that you want to get rid of through harvesting. Obviously no man's land has got plenty of spruces, so maybe not super relevant, but you can see right there the width difference. So basically we're going to have, if we jump out of here, that width plus the tyre plus probably another half tyre. So you could probably even go a little bit wider, to be honest. If you could get triple tyres, let's have a look at a large tractor, see if we can get some triples. May only just be twin wheels. Or you can do it manually and drive it yourself. But me personally, I would probably look at getting dual or triple wheels and just see how it plants. So if you're going to do like a plantation forest, what I mean by plantation, you can see all the stumps there. Look how close they were together. Crazy. So obviously grow the trees to knock them down and turn them into lumber and stuff. You may even just choose to, so let's turn this off quickly. We'll try to at least. Okay, that's not turning off. Let's just move away from that so it's not so loud. So yeah, you might want to plan it manually just to make sure that you're not going to run into issues. So another thing to consider is tree saplings. So these are your tree saplings you need for the tree planter. Spruce and pine, and I believe stone pine are the... So it might be pine and spruce are the only ones you can use with the tree harvester because they're straight. All these other ones, birch, oak, willow, maple, pagoda dagwood, shagbark hickory, American elm, all these here can't be used with the tree harvester because it's not compatible. So you've got to be careful of that as well. So let's just have a look at the trees quickly. So stone pine, I've got a feeling you can't use the tree harvester for. But if you check the Giants website, they've got a chart about forestry that tells you exactly what works, what's compatible with which machine. And obviously I'll do a video later on going into more depth of this, but I just want to get this video out there to sort of warn other people. So there's the giant spruce, or old spruce. So you can see the size comparison as opposed to a medium and a small. So the mediums and smalls are much more manageable. And if we scroll down to the pines, so you look at this in terms of a forestry setup, absolutely my preference for a forestry area. Partly because the branches are minimal and it's not going to render the game inoperable with the density of leaves that's got to animate. Because you look at the density here, like it's just crazy. I mean, it's obvious now looking at it, but when I planted it, I just didn't even consider how close together they would be. And the tree harvester's not going to have any issue dealing with this. So, I mean, if you're planning on planting a forest, really consider your options there. Because I'd hate for you to ruin your game like I almost did. And because I've been putting so much effort into this map, it would have been an absolute pain to have to abort and restart just because of my forestry mistake. So hope that helps you out, guys. Any questions regarding what I've talked about, or you're not sure about anything, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, we'll leave it there and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.